Hello everyone and welcome to a very strange episode of Rock and Roll English, because I have a kind of a strange question for you. And the question is, are you an English teacher? Now, if you're not, probably I suggest actually switching this podcast off, which it's not the best way to advertise your podcast, is it? Just switch it off, because if you're not, it's not going to be very interesting for you. But if you are an English teacher, keep listening, because I have something interesting for you. Something I hadn't actually thought about before, because I recently received a review from an Italian English teacher who completed my online course Jungle Listening, and she said something which could be of interest to you, as she mentioned how she now uses what she learned in the course in her lessons with her students, and how it has really benefited her students. Because obviously Jungle Listening is a course about sounds, pronunciation and listening, and lots of English teachers don't know how much this can help students with listening and speaking. I myself, I have been an English teacher for 13 years, and honestly, for the first 10 at least, I had no idea about sounds. In fact, it's really only the last 2 years where I have really studied how sounds work and the effect it has on speaking and listening. And now I am 100% convinced that this is the best way to reach fluency for whatever level you are at as well. It is useful for beginner students and intermediate students and even advanced students. But maybe you don't believe me. Maybe you are saying to yourself, like I used to, yeah, but listening and pronunciation just come naturally. There's no point teaching it. Now, if you say that, like I used to for 10 years, it simply means you don't understand how sounds work and what learning a language from listening is all about. Just like I didn't understand. But once you have this information, it really does open up a whole new world to you, as it did to Chiara, who is the Italian English teacher who now teaches her students using these techniques. Now, when I look back at those first 10 years, maybe even 11 years of my English teaching career, I am actually almost embarrassed that I didn't know this stuff. I look back and think, what an idiot I was. I honestly feel like I was driving a car without a driving license, because pronunciation and listening can be taught in the same way that learning grammar or even learning to ride a bike can be taught. And on my course Jungle Listening, you will learn how to teach these things, how to teach sounds and pronunciation and listening. Now, you may be asking yourself, where did I, Martin, learn these things? Because, as I said, for the first 10, 11 years, I didn't know these things. Because the training I had done, the qualifications that I had done, didn't actually teach me these things. So I have taken quite a few courses actually about teaching these things, but one in particular really stood out, and that was a course I took with Adrian Underhill, who is the king of sounds and pronunciation. He has written many books. One in particular is probably the most famous book about these things, and I did a course with him. Now, I didn't do that course to help me with listening and pronunciation. Obviously, I am a native English speaker, so I don't have difficulty with listening or pronunciation. But I did the course to learn how to teach these things to my students. So this might be you. You yourself may have no difficulty with listening or pronunciation, but like I didn't, you may not know how to teach these things. Now, the course I did with Adrian Underhill cost nearly €2,000. But don't worry, because Jungle Listening is not even nearly as expensive as that. And the great news for you is that all of the amazing things that I learned on that extremely expensive course are all in my course Jungle Listening, and you are totally free to copy everything. You can take the exact same exercises I do in the course and use them with your students. It's absolutely no problem. Now, obviously, the course is for students. The Jungle Listening course is for students. I don't talk about teaching techniques, but as I said, just copy exactly what I do and use it with your students. So if you are an English teacher and have no idea about sounds like I didn't, and like 95% of English teachers don't, they all just teach vocabulary and grammar, vocabulary and grammar, vocabulary and grammar. Here is your chance to add this incredible skill to your toolbox. And not only that, the price of the course, as I mentioned, is extremely low. In fact, it's more than 10 times cheaper than the course that I did with Adrian Underhill. But the price of the course is going to increase at midnight on Thursday. So take this opportunity now to buy the course by stopping this podcast you are listening to, clicking the link inside the description to this podcast, and then you can go directly to the page, buy the course at the lowest price it will ever sell for, and steal all of my techniques and use them with your students. So take care, my dear English teacher, my colleague, because if you are still listening to this podcast, it means you are definitely an English teacher like me. So you're one of my people. We need to stay together, us English teachers. And hopefully I will see you on the course. So thanks a lot for listening. I will see you all very soon. But in the meantime, just keep on rocking, baby.